Welcome to the Gospel According to podcast, the first and only podcast looking at the intersection of pop culture and the Christian faith. I'm Dan Ulrich, joined as always by my co-host. God must have spent a little more time on you. That's Dave Hallahan.
Hey, thanks. My name does mean beloved. So I am the beloved of God, and he did take a little more time on me.
Little more time on you, the most famous Hallahan in the world.
Sure, I got to be up there.
I mean, name another Hallahan, you guys out there.
I'll wait.
I will wait. Name another Hallahan.
I did find out recently that there was a Hallahan, I believe Bill Hallahan, who was a pitcher in Major League Baseball in the 20s and 30s, and he actually played for the Phillies.
Okay. Did he have a podcast?
He did not.
Okay. Case closed.
And now we know.
If you didn't know by our opening today, we are doing the Gospel According to boy bands.
Boy bands.
With the Trolls band together coming out, NSYNC reunited, and we thought this was a great time to look at the time-honored history of a bunch of young males getting together, choreographing their dancing, and blowing kisses to fainting fans in the crowd.
Yes. Much like when we go anywhere, there are just people following and fainting.
Yeah. Yeah. People shouting first and only, clap, 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 clap.
Yep. It happens everywhere we go. Can't stop it.
That's why I'm recording in my basement,
When the Gospel According to documentary comes out, everybody will see how we weren't originally just a two-piece. We were four. There's a lot of drama, and we won't get into it. We'll wait till the documentary comes out.
Behind the podcast. Oh, man. So growing up, were you team Backstreet Boys or team NSYNC?
All right. So
the question of the generation.
Yeah. Question of the generation for sure. And little background into the makeup of Dave Hallahan. I do think a lot of my personality is defense mechanism that doesn't come off as like defensive. Like I have a sense of humor and a wit that I think is a defense mechanism. Like if I can put the attention on me in a good way or you in a bad way, like I want to do that just so it's not on me in a bad way, right?
You're deflecting,
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, can like break tension with comedy, that all that type of stuff. Also, I grew up, we've talked about this before. Like I grew up in a Christian family where we weren't like anything in the world is evil and bad, but we were very much like I was a part of the Christian subculture. So we've talked about McGee and Me, Christian music and CCM and all of that. So I wasn't like always up on like the latest stuff. And I think musically was definitely a part of it. And so partially because of that, I always wanted to have the unique opinion, and that was a risky strategy because you could end up looking like an idiot, or you could be like, oh, wow, Dave, he's interesting. Like this Dave
that's like hot take culture too. It's they're not going to remember when you're like, oh, this person is going to be great, and then they didn't turn out. They're going to remember your, the ones that you hit on.
Yes. So with that in mind, I was a 98 Degrees guy.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
The Lachey brothers.
Just one night. Una noche. The hardest thing I ever have to do. The Lachey brothers. Yes. I also, so simultaneously in the culture, we had the boy band explosion, but then there was the female counterparts of Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Jessica Simpson. And while to a young Dave Hallahan's eyes, all three of those ladies were attractive young women, I was a Jessica Simpson fan. So I think that like paired nicely with the 98 Degrees. And so one-stop shop for all of my cultural taste at the time.
Were you in on the show?
I did
Chicken of the Sea?
Chicken of the Sea. I thought tuna was fish. Yes. So I did watch some of the show. I don't remember, like, I don't think I, like, made sure I was home in time to watch it or whatever, but definitely caught some of their show.
Mm.
What was it called again?
Newlyweds? Newly
Newlyweds? Maybe
something like
something
that.
like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if I had to pick between the 2, it was NSYNC. I mean, I liked Justin Timberlake always had that it factor more than anybody in Backstreet Boys did. So, but 98 Degrees, that they were actually my favorite. Did you come down on one side of
Yeah,
that
I
debate?
I was a big Together fan. Know my
Yes.
calculus. It says you plus me equals us. Or say it, don't spray it. I want the news, not the weather. Ooh, ooh.
I
Uh,
do think like boy bands are such a prime example of this, but so much of like what is happening in pop culture, I'm here for the parody of it.
right.
Like that's really what I'm about. So
Oh
yeah,
man,
together also great.
that was so fun. I think because of my sister, like, I really wasn't in the boy bands or whatever. It was just kind of
Sure.
it was a part of the culture.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you could not escape listening to the music because that's what was on MTV, on the radio, what people were singing at middle school dances,
Right.
that's what was spinning. And so because my sister's, who's 3 years older than me, she was a big NKOTB, fan,
Mm,
New
mm.
Kids on the Block, had the action figures.
Got the right stuff, baby.
Yeah. Um, oh, oh, oh. But she was team Backstreet Boys, so I think as a household, we were a Backstreet
Mm,
family. Uh,
gotcha.
but like, I don't know. I wasn't
Yeah.
I wasn't deep into that.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But yeah, together, the show and the movie, hilarious.
Yes.
Chris
Uh
Farley's brother was great in it. The heartthrob, the dumb one, the big brother, what was it? The kid that had disease, but then actually had it in real life. Um, it was good stuff. Dave, do you remember when you auditioned for a boy band?
Okay, so briefly saw this on the show sheet, like right before we started recording, and I'm like, "Is this a bit?" And I don't think it is,
No.
but I don't have memory of this.
So, I this was one of those things that just came to my mind as we were planning for this show. And same thing, it's like I had a dream of it. It's like that fogginess, but this happened.
Okay.
So as we shared before, we were in youth group together. We made videos. We talked about the pudding video a
Mhm,
couple episodes ago, but there was a video. I don't know if this was when Dave's older brother was kind of running the youth group, but
mm,
we made a video that was a parody of like the boy band auditions, America's Got Talent, American
uh-huh,
Idol, those type things that was focused around building a boy band. And I remember my character that I made up because
yeah,
we found a wheelchair in the church that I was, like, auditioning as in this wheelchair as my bit, and then I feel like you were in your North Carolina Tar
okay.
Heels
Yeah,
basketball
yeah, yeah,
jersey, and you auditioned as well for this boy band that, like, Chuck was there and maybe Doug Pettit and your brother, but that's as far as I
yeah,
remember
yeah,
this
yeah.
video that we made for youth group. But
It
yeah,
is
so
kinda it's coming back to me a little
mhm.
bit, and, like, I might have been trying out as, like, the white guy with street cred.
Oh, what was the one Cusack boy?
Joey?
'Cause I no, Patty Cakes. That's what we called him in the boy band video.
That's
But
funny.
yeah,
That's
so
funny.
we both, auditioned for a boy band. I don't remember if either of us made it in.
It was like
Uh,
a making the band,
yeah, kind of yeah, the well,
mockery.
yeah, with what, P. Diddy.
Yeah,
Well,
yes.
but yeah, so there was all these, there's these boy bands that were coming and going. O-Town, that was like they were creating that band. All these ones coming from like Orlando, and then you start to hear like the background stories of how they were being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
But there just became this like explosion of 3 to 5 guys singing and dancing
Mm.
and like coming out of the woodwork, and all this stuff happened. Obviously, there was, the older Boys to Men,
New
New Kids on the
Edition.
Block, New Edition, what was Menudo, which is
Mm,
like
mm.
the Spanish
Yeah.
version. I guess Ricky Martin was in when he was younger, but they had this, and then there's this resurgence that comes and uh, just explodes on the scene. I think this is kind of like prime TRL
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
timeline where you get your video up there, and you just become this huge thing that's going on. But the question that
Mhm.
has been decades in waiting, and doing some prep for this, it just re-shows our niche, our point, our part in the world that we have formed as the first and only podcast. Nobody out here is talking about it, Dave. There's
It's
not
true.
been one devotional written about this. There's not
No.
been one Bible study put out there about this. That when you come and you listen to this podcast, there's a reason, because you're getting this nowhere else.
Right, right.
And so we're here to answer that question that nobody everybody's afraid to.
Mhm.
What's the gospel according to boy bands?
Alright, I think you have some points here that will take us in like a positive kinda gospel analogy. The first thing that came to my mind, maybe I'm just pessimistic today, but, was like a false gospel of boy
Mm.
bands, and,
Well, I mean, we
uh,
are coming off the Phillies blowing it in the
it's
playoffs, so there's
it's
still a
true.
gloom that is hanging over the podcast.
Yes, yes, it is true. Where by the time people are listening to this, we're a few days away from setting the clocks back, which means it'll
Mm,
be dark at like 4:30 in the afternoon, and just not great times. So maybe that's my mindset, but also some of our conversation beforehand, we talked about the Britney Spears memoir that came out, and maybe sheds a dark light on Justin Timberlake and all that. But I do think the false gospel of boy bands was, and then mixed with the reality of what boy bands were. We wanted this projection of like innocence and perfection, right?
mhm,
Everyone's clean cut and clean. Like they're innocent boys, and they sure they the girls are attracted to them, but like there was nothing in that time about like anything sinister or bad happening, or those stories weren't going around, and so we were just to assume that these neat and polished and pretty and great singers, great dancers, that they just had it all together, coming out of the Mickey Mouse Club. Like this was just like the next evolution of their innocence and their purity, and the even like into after kind of these guys like the Jonas Brothers, who were like the Disney band and wore purity rings, and like and so I think we just wanted to project innocence and some like idealistic form of the boy, that these bands were supposed to embody. But what we come to find out through memoirs and through stories later, and even the way that they were treated, not just the way that they were necessarily treating others, is that there was like this sinister dark side to
mm,
it, behind the scenes. And I think that is unfortunately far too often how I'll just blame myself, not our listeners are great, but
yeah.
that's how
I'll
I
blame
live.
you as well. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, just me, just me. How I want to live, right? I want to project like my life is good. I have everything in order. That I'm the person you can trust. You can come to me with your problems and with your questions, and I'll have the answers. And I'm doing things the right way
Mhm.
versus these people who are doing things the wrong way. But the truth is that there's a lot of dark and sinister in me that I have to take care of and that I have to bring before the Lord. So I think that's what comes to my mind as the gospel according to boy bands. It's a false gospel, and it's that we need to project that we are good, that we are well, and that is more important than what is actually happening.
So Dave Hallahan's new album, Whitewashed Tombs, coming out.
Yes, yes. My diss
So
track of the boy band industry.
right. Oh man. So yeah, I'll give the positive gospel. And that is that we need each other, right? Especially we talked about some of these creating of the boy bands that were kind of manufactured. A lot of them didn't come together necessarily naturally. It was more like,
Right.
okay, let's bring these together, or how One Direction was formed on America's Got Talent, I think, or
Mhm.
whatever, where there was these bunch of guys that maybe in and of themselves at that time couldn't be stars. So it was like, all right, if we bring them together and we kind of manufacture this, that we need, like, even with the Together
Mm.
mockumentary, where it was like, okay, we need the heartthrob that's going
Right.
to sing lead and is going to be then we need the young one that is like, the pretty boy, and then we have the older brother guy that
Mhm.
they have be like 20 years older, but
Right.
the kind of like steady um older brother type. Then you have the bad boy
Mhm.
in that, but just kind of these different pieces. Or even from a musical standpoint, there's the, okay, this guy sings lead. You have these will sing falsetto and have the high notes. This guy is the bass in the band. He sings the low notes. And those things that usually boy bands was characterized by which one was your favorite? Like,
Right.
who did you gravitate towards? And it was like, oh, I like the guy that has the goggles. I like the guy that, has the frosted tips. I like the guy that's hair looks like a package of ramen noodles. Um,
The guy with
yeah,
frosted tips?
yeah, yeah.
Not
The
in the
guy
not in the '90s, that was all of
frosted goatee.
them. There you go.
Okay. But it was like this idea that, okay, they needed each other. And you brought up the Nick Sirianni, head coach of the
Mm.
Eagles. His quote of was, "If you want to fly fast, you fly
Fl
alone,
Mhm.
and if you want to
Fly
fly
far,
far."
fly together.
Yeah. So in this idea that in at least the founding of the boy bands was, it's not about you, it's about something quite larger than you. And then each of these stories usually ended up with the guy that was the breakout, the Justin Timberlake, the maybe Brian, or what was Nick from Backstreet Boys,
Oh,
and
Nick
Nick
Carter,
Nick
yeah, yeah.
Nick Carter, Nick Lachey. You have these ones that are kind of the standouts, the lead singers, and then inevitably they're going to break away and start their own music. The Harry Styles. They're going to have their own careers with that, and a lot of those cases, like, Nick Lachey is going off. He's having his own album, but, like, what about the other guys in the
Right,
band?
right,
Like, they're
right.
just left behind. Maybe they try to make something and they don't, but maybe they go back to their regular jobs, or they're just trying to live off the fame.
Become an astronaut.
Yeah, and try to become those things where it's kind of like, oh, they're just waiting now for that
Yeah.
reunion tour to happen because they're left behind. And I think as Christians sometimes we have that mentality of, we want to make things about us, or we want to go at things alone, and it's hard for us to see ourselves as part of the
Mm,
community, or maybe even, like, stand out things. But the truth is that we need each other, and as Christians we need to be in a place where, like in Philippians 2, Paul's talking about, think of others more highly than yourself. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, that there's other people that need us, and we have to be self-sacrificing. We have to show the example of Christ for other people. And a lot of times in boy bands, that can happen where they stay together and they help each other, and the fifth guy on the band is still getting a check and touring, and doing that. But then there's other times where the lead singer goes off and kind of leaves everybody else behind, that would have loved to still touring and things like that. And so for us as Christians to see our need for each other, to build each other up in faith, um, to not satisfy our selfish ambition, but to do what is right for one another, and that we need each other. And that's not always that, like, okay, what can I get out of somebody? That's sometimes our selfish ambition, is like, how can this person help me? How can
right.
they help my career? But rather flip that and be like, okay, how can I help them? How can
Mhm.
I help their career? How can I encourage them? How can I be a steady presence for them? How can I elevate their life, their career, their, you know, providing for their
Yeah.
family, their
Yep.
place in the church?
Yeah. And that happens through like honest listening, right? Through conversation, not just like sitting at home and being like, well, I bet they need this, and then like trying it, but like actually being in relationship with them and then knowing, okay, this is where they need help. Like maybe I can step in and I can help them here, or like I know a guy, I know someone who can help you with this. And so let me make that connection. I do think as you were talking, I haven't thought about it in this way before, but there is like, or there can be a boy band culture to church in that like we when we're all together on a Sunday morning, it looks like, oh, we've been friends forever and like these relationships must run deep. And but then we all go to our separate homes Sunday afternoon and we don't see each other or talk to each other again until Sunday morning. And like i- if someone were to visit on that Sunday and they look at this group of believers, they're like, oh, wow, like that's awesome that they're best friends. And this all came together very naturally. But the reality is that it is kind of manufactured for that Sunday morning. And
Yeah.
what we should be after is kind of what we're portraying that we are actually connected to one another, that like you're saying we are invested in each other's lives, that we're not just showing up to get our points on Sunday morning, but that we these are the people who I love, that I'm, to use the cliche Christian phrase, I'm doing life with. Like our day in and day out, we are together. You know, our kids are on the same sports teams. Our kids go to the same school. Maybe we're on the parent teacher board together, or they're just coming over for dinner, or
Mm.
you know, we're sitting around the bonfire together. There's real community there. So I think that is like an aspirational thing that we should be after. What boy bands kind of were supposed to represent.
Yeah, that we think they're all living in the same house together, and they're
Right.
like, best
Yeah.
friends and, writing songs as they're, like, playing ping pong, around the
Yeah.
dining room table and stuff.
Right.
Alright, Dave, are you ready for the Bible breakdown?
The Bible breakdown.
And here comes the breakdown.
Whoo.
That's like when the boy band, they released their 3rd album, they're like, "Harder sound."
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright, so the Bible breakdown, where the Bible breakdown is the best Bible boy bands.
Oh.
Bible breakdown, best Bible boy bands.
Best the
Alright,
ba ba
so
ba 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 ba.
blah, blah, blah. Alright, so we're going to come up with, different
Okay.
groups that we see in the Bible, and then we're gonna form some boy bands, uh, and see if we can form the best Bible boy bands. And so, we'll pull out some of these groups that were formed, and then see if we can come up with a name for them. Maybe
Okay.
see if we can, write some songs, for what they would be. So I'll
Okay.
go first.
Okay.
We have, you know, there's John, or wait, John, Ringo, George, and
Paul.
Paul. But what four names are bigger than that? Give me Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. All right.
Okay. Yes, yes.
So the
Matthew, Mark, Luke,
four,
and John.
yeah. So I don't know. Maybe their name would be the four pillars,
Mm, mm.
the gospelers.
Yes. Uh, I'm trying to, because there's a band, right? The American Authors or something like that. I'm trying to
Okay,
think of like the play off of that, but
Galilean
the
authors.
Galilean Authors.
All right. So we have, them, obviously the four authors, the four namesakes of, uh, the gospels, the first four, the
Hmm.
tellings of the stories of Jesus. Um so I don't, you got any songs that they sing? Uh,
I think their first album is called According to
Ooh, yeah.
dot dot dot.
Mm. This
Maybe you and I
is the
can't.
story of a god.
um, I think John is definitely the like eccentric one of the group for sure.
Yeah.
Um, who's the front man in this?
Matthew.
Matthew. Yeah, yeah.
He comes
He
first,
he leads it off. That's good.
Uh
Yeah.
L- Luke is the
I
like
think
kind of
Luke is
nerdy.
probably I think he's doing the heavy lifting on the songwriting.
Okay.
Like, he's the only one who actually, like, has input on, like, the music, the sound, the lyrics. Like, he's thinking about it that way. Like, how can we put this all together? And he goes off and he has his solo career as well,
Right. Yeah.
right? With Axe, the Axe of Luke.
the, the acts of Luke. Oh, come on, Luke. You gotta come on. You gotta get back together with the Galilean
Yeah,
authors. We gotta
we
get
need.
together.
I like it. I think we've got some good stuff going with them. We do need some help with the band name. So if you're listening, you need to drop us a line. What the the four gospel writers? What is their boy band name?
Yeah. And whose poster you have on your wall?
All right, I've got one. You can tell me if we need to add, like, is a group of two. Does that work
Yeah, I
as a boy
think there
band?
can be a
That'll work.
boy band too. Yeah.
All right. We can maybe add some people if we need to. But I think Jonathan and David
Mm.
are boy band. Um, I'm thinking like the Royal Family is like their band name. And their hit single off their first album is Brother from Another Mother. And
You're
it's
my
like
brother from another mother.
and it's a yeah, it's a ballad to one another. Um, so that's yeah, the Royal Family.
That's like Wham, and then uh,
Yes, yes.
David is the George Michael.
David is George Michael, obviously. Yes. Yeah.
Goes on to much bigger,
Yes.
better things.
Yes.
Uh, Starts the lineage that will lead to the Messiah,
Yes. Yes.
or continues the lineage, I guess. All right, my next boy band, I got Unsinged,
Okay.
Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego.
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
And I think the song's already been written for them. There was another
Oh,
in the
yes, yes.
fire.
Yeah, that's actually their first hit song.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe their first album's called like Smoke Free or something like that.
Smoke free. Thank you for smoking. Coming for you, Nebuchadnezzar.
I like it. All right, how about going back to the New Testament, the Inner Circle,
Mm,
with Peter, James, and John,
yeah.
and uh, like every once in a while, their friend Jesus joins the
Well,
band as well.
yeah, and then there's the magical, you know, maybe even an album, The Transfiguration, where we bring
Mm.
Moses and Elijah in
Yeah, yeah, I like it. Yeah,
to on some of the tracks, or that's like the tour when New Kids on the Block and Backstreet Boys, NKOTBSB, the big,
yeah, yeah.
joint tour that goes on. What's their song? How about, Peter drops the "Good for us to be here."
Mm, mm.
Let's
Yeah, that could.
I never wanna leave this place. It's good for us to be here.
Yes. Um, Naps in the Garden.
You told me to stay awake, but I'm taking naps in the garden.
Uh,
Oh, man. Obviously, this gets brought up every time we bring this, but Sons of Thunder.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Sons of Thunder. Yeah, there. That's like that's when they go heavy.
Yeah, the White Stripes, Sons of
Yes,
Thunder.
yes.
Oh, man. Good stuff. You got any other boy bands from the Bible?
I mean, you can always have like I don't know who, like the Four Horsemen. I mean, like there's. I think that's the heavy metal. That's like the
Yeah, I don't
death
know that.
metal.
Yeah,
That's the
I
death
don't
metal boy band. Yeah, they're like
know.
yeah. Signs of the Apocalypse. That's the name of their song.
Let's go. I figured there's maybe like definitely with the boy band politics and like things like having Paul and you know Timothy and Barnabas, but
Barnabas, Silas,
then there's like the breakup.
John
Uh,
Mark.
and they go
Yeah.
on their own way and they form their own band, and
Hmm.
then everyone's always like, Paul, when you gonna get back together?
We have like the redemption tour at the end because I think it's in like Second Timothy where Paul writes to Timothy and says, send John Mark. He's very useful to me.
Yeah.
So like we have a redemption tour at the end.
Hmm.
I like it. I like
Yeah. Redemption tour, Folsom City, or
it.
the prison tapes. All right, you ready to play a game?
I'm ready.
All right, this game is called Boy Band or Youth Fam. I'm going to give you a name, and you have to tell me if this was the name of a boy band in the 90s
Okay.
or a youth group name from the 90s.
Okay.
Now, these are youth group names that people submitted to different Twitter threads,
Hmm.
but uh, some of these boy band names have probably been a youth group name. So, but if they are
Right. Right. Right.
definitely a boy band name, then that is
Right.
the
That
right
trumps.
answer for that.
Okay.
All right. First, we'll start off with plus one.
Plus one is a boy band.
Yes, this is the Christian pop
Yes.
boy band formed in 1999. Uh, do you know what plus one stands for?
There was another in the fire.
Yeah, so it was this group of boys, of guys, and then plus one, Jesus was with them.
Jesus was always with them. Yes.
He's got the plus one. All right, next, take five.
That is a candy bar. Actually,
That's not one of the options, but
loved that candy bar. Take five. Um, I don't know how. I'm trying to like think of what the youth group tie-in would be, and I can't think of one. Doesn't mean there isn't one, but I'm gonna go boy band.
Take Five was an American boy band from Orlando, Florida, where all boy bands come from,
Right, right, right.
consisting of brothers Ryan and Clay, Tilky Jones, Stevie Scutherford, and
Tilky,
TJ. Yep.
that's my boy.
All right. So you're 2 for 2. Let's
Woo,
go Slug.
slug. Uh, I don't think that's selling too many albums, so I'm gonna go with
I love
youth
you, Slug.
group. Youth group.
Can you give me a shot at what the acronym stands for?
Well, that's funny. I was gonna say it's an acronym, even
Of
before you
course,
told me
if it's a
that.
youth
Yeah,
group name. Come on.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh man. Under God, sons and ladies under God.
Close. Senior leadership under God.
Ah,
Then the person said, bunch of youth pastors trying to be funny.
uh,
That's what the person said about their youth group
that's what
name.
the group was.
No, that was just their that was their
Right, right,
response
right,
to
right.
the guy
Yeah,
why their youth group was named Slug.
yeah.
All right. 3 for 3. Next, we have Explosion. Like
Explosion
X,
with no e.
Yep, of
Um,
course.
this is the first one that I feel like could go either way. I'm gonna go youth group name.
This is a youth group name. Youth groups love using the X, dropping the
Extreme, especially
whatever
in
was
the
before that.
90s. Like this little known fact, it's really underreported, I should say. The
Uh-huh.
90s were extreme days.
Yes.
We were living in extreme days in the 90s.
Everything was like exclamation points,
Yes.
catalyst, ignite, explosion, extreme. Like, do you remember
Yes.
like the Bible covers?
Yeah.
It
Yes.
was
They
like
went hard.
somebody surfing,
Yeah, skateboarding.
mountain climbing.
Right.
Like you weren't
Yeah.
just reading your Bible
No,
in
no, no,
your
no.
bedroom. Like you were doing it on the
Yes.
X Games,
Yes. Yes.
and purple, teal, pink, like the bright
Yeah,
colors.
even and it wasn't just limited to Christian culture. That's a good point because the X Games were like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, we had those Mountain Dew commercials where it was
yeah,
like you're never just drinking it playing a video game. You're drinking it upside down, jumping your dirt bike over exploding buses.
yes,
Uh,
yes.
how can
Times
we
times were crazy. Times were crazy.
All right, next one. Plunge.
Plunge, youth group,
We were the Plunge, and my youth pastor loved it when I started referring to us as plungers.
plungers. Yes, of course. Take the plunge.
Yeah, come on down. Sunday night, 6 o'clock. Take the plunge. All right, next one. South 65.
Boy band.
This was an American country music boy band
Oh, wow.
composed of Lance Leslie, Brent Parker, Stephen Parker, Jeremy Kozal, and Doug
Mhm, mhm.
Urey.
Yeah.
Man, you're
I'm
undefeated
crushing
right
it,
now.
crushing it.
All right, high five.
Okay, Dan. Oh, um, high five is oh, boy band?
This is an American R&B quintet from Waco, Texas.
Yes!
They had a #1 hit on Billboard's Hot 100 in 1991 with "I Like the Way" (parentheses the kissing game).
Oh, okay.
Hopefully that's not happening at youth group.
No, 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 no.
But then again, the 90s were crazy times.
90s were crazy.
I
Greet each other
remember
with a holy kiss.
when I took the youth pastor job in 2005 at the church, they had all the old like youth specialties books,
Mhm, mhm.
and I was just like flipping through them. These were from the late 80s or something. There were some wild games that just things about like sitting on people's laps and like these like other games like you're putting like like things through clothes, like dressing up as like the other genders and stuff. It was some stuff that you would
Different
definitely get fired for if you
different
played these
times,
games
different
that were
times, yeah.
published by
Right.
all right, React.
Ah! Um, React. Youth group.
This was an American boy band
Ah, we found it. We
made
found the
by
one.
Tim Cruz and Daniel Meteran,
Mhm, mhm.
but I'm sure there is a React youth group.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah, I'm sure.
all right, last one.
Okay.
See if you can redeem it. Jericho Road.
Boy band.
This was a Latter-day Saints boy band that sings religious
Love it.
music.
Okay,
Mem-
that checks out because I was like, I went boy band, some game theory there, Jericho, biblical. So I'm like, well, can't go youth group because that's what he wants me to do. But turns out, kind of both.
well, I mean, they're Latter-day Saints. So that
Maybe
was boy band or youth fam.
boy band, or I wonder if Office theology memes, if he was a part of that boy band.
Probably not.
Oh, I guess not. I guess is that a form of racism? It's like, do you know these other Mormons? Wait, you
I
guys don't
mean,
all know each other?
yeah. Well, it's funny. Like sometimes people be like, so I've had, as a youth pastor, I've had, I don't know, 5 kids that have gone to, Liberty University. And so
Hmm.
sometimes people will be like, I go to Liberty University. Oh, do you know one of these 5 people in the like
Right,
100,000
right.
that have gone
Yeah.
to this college? Uh, but anyway, you got any last words about boy bands?
um, just go back, as NSYNC is having their reunion tour, go back and go listen to 98 Degrees. Telling you, they they were slept on a little bit. They were the third brother,
Hmm.
like me, flew under the radar. But look, I became the most famous Hallahan, so um,
And
there's
now
something
with
good in.
global warming, like 98 degrees isn't that hot anymore.
Yeah, yeah. Soon we'll call them spring.
Oh man. Well, thank you all for joining us for the gospel according to. Uh, remember to check us out on all social media platforms that have existed or ever existed. Let us know who your favorite boy bands were. If you listened to Plus One or if there was other lesser known Christian boy bands out there that you followed, who your favorites were. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X, Twitter, Threads, TikTok, YouTube at TGAT Podcast, or check out our article in the latest Tiger Beat magazine, where you'll find out what Dave's favorite sandwich is and
Mm.
if he's ever had his first kiss. Uh,
Oh.
Thank you for sharing the gospel according to with your family or your 3 to 4 friends that you do choreographed dances with.
Mm. Yes. You can also send us your mailbag question on social or by emailing tgatpod@gmail.com. And we would be happy to answer that question live on an episode. And make sure you're doing your part in obeying the Great Commission by helping us spread the gospel according to podcast. And one great way to do that is by leaving a 5-star rating and review, just like Katie Smurf, Katie Smurf,
KDS Murph.
Katie S. Smurf, probably Katie S. Smurf, who, if you call her Murph, her brother might be upset. Just saying. But on my birthday, she left a 5-star rating and review with the caption or title, "So good. 10 to 10, recommend like being so for real. My go to for a long car ride."
Mm.
And you know what? Long car ride, short car ride, no car ride. You can listen to the gospel according to whenever. Boring class, whatever. Family meeting, work, uh, shower,
Pa-
get a
pa-
Bluetooth speaker.
Pastor is talking too long.
Pastor's talking too long, like whatever. We can be your go-to for
You're at a
whatever.
boy band concert and the opener is kind of
Yes.
lame.
Need to pregame the NSYNC reunion show? Listen to the gospel according to boy bands. But whatever your reason for listening, be sure to leave your own review and you can hear it next week on your favorite Hump Day podcast. This was the gospel according to
Boy
boy
bands.
bands, rubber
Next week we'll be
bands,
doing girl bands.
girl bands.
People of the world, spice up your life. God must have spent a little more time on you. The
Give
Lachey
me just one
brothers.
night, una noche.
Remember
Fi-
they
5 greatest rappers of all time. Dylan,
Dylon,
Dylan,
Dylon,
Dylan,
Dylon.
Dylan, and Dylan. I
I
spit
spit
hot
hot fire.
fire.
Oh man, Chappelle. The best.
Yeah.
Bible Breakdown is the best Bible boy bands.
Oh,
Bible Breakdown, best Bible boy bands.
best
All
the
right,
ba ba
so
ba 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 ba.
blah blah blah.
Not just like sitting at home and being like, well, I bet they need this, and then like trying it, but like actually being in relationship with them and then knowing, okay, this is where they need help in their life, and so maybe I can. I get all choked up when we talk about
It's
when we talk about community.